So welcome back to design number 3, another Easter arrangement for the home, and I'm using exactly the same flowers, no added extras, no bonus foliage, just the flowers that I've used in the 2 previous videos. Now if you've already watched them, you'll know that I've gone slightly overboard with some accessories to decorate the studio for Easter. And this is the final design in the Easter creations, and this time I'm going more environmentally friendly. Now for me to go completely environmentally friendly, I think we have to buy locally grown flowers. So my mechanics are a more environmentally friendly option, but my flowers have still been imported. They've still flown many miles to get to the UK. So if we really are being environmentally friendly and looking at sustainable options, we really have to start buying local. And this time of year, that's not entirely achievable. Although later in the summer, when I've got a wide choice of growers and suppliers around me, we can look at using locally grown flowers. Right, okay, so today's design is this china base that I picked up yesterday. It's another one of my charity shop finds, and I'm not quite sure whether it's a fruit bowl, compote bowl, whether it's a salad dish, but it's got this lovely shape. It's really heavy. It's made in Portugal, so I'm wondering if somebody might have brought it back from them when they were on holiday. But the top section is quite deep, so if I'm going to fill that with clean water, then I know it's going to keep my flowers fresh. And I'm going to be using the Holly Chapple frames. Now I've used these in a previous arrangement. So the larger size didn't fit comfortably on the top. It sort of moves around a little bit, so I didn't feel it was going to be secure enough. So I'm going to use the top section, or one half of the cushioned base, and I'm going to use the smaller version inside. So I think this is 20 centimeters. That sits really nicely on the base, and that's going to help secure my flowers and hold them into place. And then I'm going to use the extra one on top, almost so that it gives me several layers, and that stops the flowers from spinning around and freely moving within the arrangement. Just gives me a bit of extra stability. Now if you haven't got a Holly Chapple base like this, then you could of course use floral foam. If you are looking for a more sustainable option, then you're likely to choose wire mesh. And what I'm going to do, what you can see me fiddling with here, is I'm going to use the clear floral tape just to anchor it and to stop it sliding around, stop it moving too much when I insert the flowers. So I probably looked very serious there when I was attaching the tape, but the idea is to hold my mechanics into place and to stop it sliding around. That will ensure that the longer stems of my flowers are going to stay hopefully where I put them. So that now gives me several layers of that plastic sort of hexagon shaped base to hold my flowers into place. These tutorials are aimed at flower arrangers and florists, those of you who are just looking for some enjoyment at home. And if you haven't got the exact same materials as I have, then don't worry, just find something at home that will work equally as well. Chicken wire is a really good option. You can keep it at home. If it's plastic coated, you can wash it and reuse it time and time again. But it's nice sometimes for me to introduce you to something different. And Holly Chapple, who's the lady and the company that make these, do sell them online, and I'll link in the bottom there for anybody that wants to maybe purchase one for themselves. I'm not affiliated to them and I don't get any bonuses for selling their products, but I'm hoping it would be helpful for you watching at home. Right, now I'm going to create a front-facing design, I think, today. We've looked at 2 designs that were all round, so I'm going to look at something that has a definite front and a back. I know the container is round and it would really suit an all-round arrangement, but I'm thinking on the dresser or a mantelpiece. But I just feel that the style of the flowers that I've got would work quite well as a front-facing arrangement. Right, so this is that lovely willow, and I'm going to feed it through to find a position that it wants to naturally rest, and I'm working it through the several different layers of that Holly Chapple base. And the initial couple of pieces will move and swing about a little bit because there's not a great deal of stems in there to support the flowers. but I'm going to keep on adding. Now, under normal circumstances, I would put fresh flowers in here, and they do seal up very quickly and they will stop taking water fairly quickly. So if you're arranging at home, make sure you have a nice clean cut on the base and you've got your water supply in there straight away. For demonstration purposes, it's much easier for me to not have any water in there. So should I decide that I'm going to tilt it forward for you, then I'm not going to have any accident. Now that is holding really well, and I have this natural love for a sort of semi-crescent shape arrangement, and I'm anticipating that this arrangement is going to follow along that style. Bearing in mind that the flowers I've got have already been used in 2 previous arrangements, so I can't obviously make them longer. So I'm only working with the length of stem left over from the previous 2 arrangements. Now at the moment, I'm arranging this so it's facing you at the front there. I'm going to turn it around so you can see it from the side. And at this stage, I've got flowers almost running straight through the middle of the arrangement. So I don't have that depth. I haven't got a front and a back. I just have widths to the arrangement. It's not going to be particularly high. I'm probably going to use the lower material there in the middle, but I need to bring some weight front and back. It really needs to be stable for 2 reasons, so that it doesn't fall over, and it needs to be evenly balanced. So my plastic structure here in the middle is evenly supported, which hopefully will hold my flowers in a really good position. So that's the front. Now I'm going to bring it round so I can see exactly what I'm doing, and I'm going to introduce some of this gorgeous, what I think is cherry blossom. This is naturally bending, so it would look nice to add it on to what is my left hand side, and the weight of this might pull my frame forward. It's okay for a minute, and to sort of counterbalance that, I'm going to add pieces left and right as I go. Sometimes with this type of arrangement, I start on the center with the shorter flowers and I work my way towards the outside. That's probably decided on the style of flowers I have, and today I'm limited because some of the flowers have already been cut short. Now if I start angling some pieces towards you at the back there, it's going to give me some weight at the back of the arrangement, and it's also going to give me some depth. And what I'm making sure that I do here, as well as give a clean cut on the bottom, is to remove any of the flowers, thorns, leaves, anything that I might have there, so that I can bring that weight to create some depth there at the back. So if we now look at it from the side, you'll see that I've got some depth starting to take place. So as well as having the widths, bit of height starting, I've now got the depth created so that you look right the way towards the back of the arrangement. So I've got a couple of shorter pieces of the blossom, and these will work really nicely towards the front. And you'll notice that when I place flowers in, there is a bit of movement, but we don't want to worry too much about that. This is a really therapeutic style of arranging. Just relax and enjoy. Put a bit of music on in the background, put the radio on, pour yourself a glass of wine, and really enjoy what you're doing. Now, the bulrushes that I used in previous designs gave me some really straight linear movement. And I'm still going to use them in this arrangement. I'm going to use them quite long. Now I'm thinking that I've got quite a lot of weight on the outside, so I'm starting to have an unstable arrangement. So I'm going to add some actual weight to the middle, to the center. I'm quite pleased with the overall sort of outline of the arrangement. I've got a fairly even distribution of the colour blue. The pink, soft cherry blossom is working really well to give me a variety of texture. And now I'm going to introduce this lovely rose, and it's a bigger, rounder flower, and they tend to work better towards the focal point. And as this design is almost symmetrical in its outline, I'm going to use the roses more towards the middle to create a bit of a focal point. Now I think I have 4 of these. If I just turn that round for you to see, it's quite a deep bowl, so I need to get a lot of actual weight in there to stop it swinging around and stop it moving. I'm going to bring a rose there towards the back, and I've said it already, I am restricted by the height of these flowers. I can't obviously make them any longer. Now I'm going to bring in some of the Gerbera, and I've got a lovely selection of shapes and forms. There's some line material in there. I've got texture and colour, and these are all the elements and principles of design. And if you've been watching recent videos, ones that have been filmed in the last couple of weeks, then you'll know that I've launched a series of, oh, it's not actually a series because I'm only on the first one, but I've designed some digital downloads which talk about the elements and principles of design, and they're going to help to run alongside the tutorial videos, so you get to understand a little bit about the theory that comes along with flower arranging. Now, you could quite easily leave the design as it is there. There's a lot of the mesh showing if we look from the top, but if it's just for you at home, you could easily finish off there and add some greenery to the base. But I'm going to keep going with the remainder of my flowers. There's a blue colouring on the outside there with the Delphinium. So now I'm going to introduce some of the irises towards the front, and a little bit of difficulty with these because they are quite short, so I'm going to have to push them down so that the stems are going to reach that water supply when I put it in later on. And I'm going to risk tipping this forward. It might not be a good plan. I'm going to hold it quite tight, cascade it forward, and hopefully you'll be able to see there's still a lot of that plastic framework there to be hidden. I've got a couple more of the irises. Feed them in amongst all the different colours. So remember, if the flowers are still in bud, to leave some space around them so they get a chance to open up and develop properly. I have a couple more of the Delphinium, and this is a spray Delphinium. It's really pretty. Reminds me of little butterflies, very gently flying in and out of the flowers. It's a beautiful, fairly new variety of Delphinium. Next, I'm going to introduce the daffodils. And daffodils aren't a great flower to mix with other varieties when you're just arranging into water, because they tend to exude a very sticky sap, and that clogs up the other stems. So it is recommended that you don't use daffodils in with other flowers, because it does have a detrimental effect on their lifespan. But they're so lovely and so spring-like, I can't resist them. So I've used all of the fresh flowers that I had in the two previous designs, and we've got that lovely gentle crescent shape arrangement, which is very much on vogue at the moment. It's a Georgian style arrangement that's become very popular again. So now I'm going to introduce these lovely eggs, some towards the outside, and then the shorter ones that have already been cut can come towards the front. I'm also going to use some low down in the arrangement to give a bit of extra texture and extra colour. And for me, this is a really lovely Easter arrangement. And that one I think is leaning forward a bit too far, so we'll pop that more towards the back. Remembering that because it's quite a loose arrangement, you can still see all the different flower colours and shapes and textures through the arrangement itself. It's not a massed, jam-packed arrangement. Okay, so let's try and get some of the eggs in towards the outside, and then with the shorter pieces that I cut down to use in that previous arrangement, we can tuck a few here in at the front, and I'll add a couple in at the back there, and we'll have almost covered that framework. Little section here on what is my left, and I think that's working really well. Then these shorter ones that I used in the other arrangement can really neatly slot in at the back here, and it gives me a lovely colour and textural link between the different types of flowers. Now at the back here I still have the mesh showing, but what I'm going to do there is reintroduce those two little bunny rabbits that I had in the previous arrangement. But what I'm going to do first of all is to sit some moss there on the top of that frame. If you're making this for yourself at home, you don't need to worry too much about covering that frame at the back, but I'm going to add just a small amount of moss on the top. And because the holes in that plastic framework aren't too large, the moss is going to sit quite comfortably on the top. I'm going to try and avoid any of the moss dropping into the water because it will contaminate the water and make it very unsightly and a little bit on the smelly side. And if you haven't got moss at home, you could use a bit of fabric. You might have some sisal, you might have some large dried heads, or you could just use some greenery in the back. So now we've got that green, lovely textured moss that's so spring-like in its appearance. And I'm going to sit back, Mr. and Mrs. Bunny Rabbit, hopefully in the centre-ish of the arrangement on top of the moss. I'm just going to move this one rose because I'm thinking I haven't left myself enough room to sit the two rabbits. But that one can sit there, and we'll spin it around before we add in Mrs. Bunny Rabbit alongside. So what do we think of that Easter arrangement? So hopefully you've enjoyed all three of the Easter arrangements. I haven't added anything extra in. It's exactly the same flower content in all three designs, and it just goes to show you how versatile flower arranging can be. Now don't forget, if you're interested in having some digital downloads, then pop over to the Etsy store, and I'll pop a link in the description box below. As ever, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.